All right, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like the good old Solus is back at it again with another video. Not Sonic Solus or Solus. I think it's like Solus Saga, but I think it's just going by Solus now. But this guy has been making quite a bit of Wuthering Waves content recently, a bit of lore content, made some beginner guides and some other bits of content as well. And now he's back at it again with a ranking for the top 5 worst characters in Wuthering Waves. I think every character in WuWa is usable to a pretty decent degree, especially with the release of something like Carlotta and her bringing characters like Taoqi into viability. So I'm interested in hearing what some of the reasoning is over here, why these characters are so bad, and maybe some of the changes or the techniques you need to use to actually make them playable. So let's go ahead and see how the cookie crumbles here.
In my last video, I went through the top 5 characters in Wuthering Waves. And in that video, I said that all of the characters in Wuthering Waves are viable. In fact, every single character in Wuthering Waves is viable, even the 4-star characters. That is still a true statement. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a spectrum, and I still think that there are 5 characters that are on the very end of that spectrum. So in this video, we're going to talk about the 5 worst characters in Wuthering Waves. But before we do that, if this is your first time coming by my channel, thanks for stopping by. My name is Solus. Please consider hitting the subscribe button if you like Wuthering Waves and gacha content. Now, before we get into this list, I have one very simple ground rule, which is that when I made my top 5 list, I put a lot of effort into dissecting who was the best based on valid reasoning. And this list of the worst characters, while having some validity behind some of the decision making, is really based mostly on personal opinions and even takes into account some things like character design. Now, that's because I want this list to be a little bit more fun.
How dare he say that it's his opinion? No, this needs to be all meta, all facts. He needs to have proof for every single thing that he's saying. How dare he do this? How dare he say his opinion on a game? I'm just kidding. That's perfectly fine. That's a good disclaimer.
And even though I think these 5 characters are the worst for different reasons, they're all perfectly viable still to play in game. Now, with that being said, if you do happen to main any of these characters, you should absolutely feel upset and feel bad about yourself. For those of you who may be sensitive, that was a joke. And with that, let's start out with my number 5 pick, which is Calcharo, aka Calcharo, aka Sephiroth, aka... Okay. Who the hell even is this guy? Okay, in all seriousness, Calcharo is the first 5-star character that I got when I started the game.
He sucks ass. He's awful for most players. You can play him like an absolute sweat and make him super, relatively strong, but in a lot of situations, you get hit or die or have to dodge once on this guy and your DPS just falls off a cliff.
From the standard beginner banner, and I was so happy when I got him. I thought he was super cool. I mean, he still is pretty cool. And don't get me wrong here, he is still a perfectly fine character and still a perfectly fine DPS, especially if he's one of the first characters you get at the beginning of the game. But we're in version 2.0 now, and we still have absolutely no idea who this guy is or what he has to do with the game at all. Maybe Kuro is going to add him to the story at some point. Maybe it's already cooked up and it just hasn't made sense to put him into the story yet. I don't know.
I think they've given up on him. I think that them making Zhang Liao kind of like his much easier to use, more viable option. Them making Zhang Liao free in version 1.2 was kind of them just saying, pretend this guy doesn't exist. Please. Please just pretend this guy doesn't exist and just play Zhang Liao instead. That's kind of what it seems like.
But what I do know is that in version 1.2 of the game, if you played the event during that patch, we all got a free copy
Not
of
pre-watched,
the
by the
5-star
way.
character Shan Liao. Now, Calcharo and Shan Liao are both Electro main DPS characters, and I regret to inform you that Shan Liao is literally just a much better version of Calcharo in almost every single way. So now Calcharo is irrelevant in the story, and now he's also completely irrelevant if you got a copy of Shan Liao. RIP. Clocking in at number 4 on the list is Chixia, and the only reason
I
that
hate
she's
this character
not
too.
higher on this list is because if you build her well and if you build a team around her, she's actually a really strong DPS, especially once you have her at S6. Now, I don't know this because I've done it for myself. I know this because my younger brother, who has for the moment ditched Wuthering Waves to go be good at Marvel Rivals, he just hit Grandmaster rank the other day, but when he was playing Wuthering Waves, he built Chixia, played with her a lot, and and showed me some gameplay where he was doing some absolutely nasty damage with her. And at the time, he was trying to convince me to play her and just give it a shot. And I was just like, nah. Now, why is that? I'm glad you asked. The reason is because I think she's annoying. I also think her character design sucks, and I just don't like her. In English, she sounds like an overexcited 10-year-old boy. And I imagine that this is who you would like if it was gay to like girls.
This is who you would like if it was gay to like girls.
I have absolutely no idea how that made any sense, but now we're moving on to number
It kind of
3.
does.
This is maybe
it kind of does
the
make
only
sense.
character that when you clicked on this video, you were expecting to see her show up somewhere. So if you guessed Taoqi, you are correct.
Hey, I like playing her.
It doesn't really feel fair to put her on this list because, at least to me, she seems like such a likable character. I remember that I really liked her a lot when I was originally playing through the story. But what it comes down to for me is that Taoqi really feels like an example of wasted potential, at least in the current state of the game, in my opinion. In my mind, there are 2 main reasons for this, with the first reason being that she has split scaling.
She doesn't really have split scaling, I'm gonna be honest. She just scales entirely off of defense, and she has her normal attacks scale off of attack. But if you're playing her in a pretty, I would say, optimal way, she doesn't actually ever use her normal attacks, unless it's to build Calcharo. And you're using everything else in her kit that just entirely scales off defense. Like, even her forte enhanced attacks, they scale off of defense, 1,000,000%.
So what I mean by that is that her damage is scaled on her defense stat. And so this is in conflict with what your overall attack could be, because you'll need to use defense main stat echoes, or you'll have to do some combination of defense main stats and other main stats and make sure that you're able to get the absolute best substat rolls that you can. And the second reason that she's not as good, in my opinion, is that she requires a pretty decent amount of field time, which is not a good thing for a character that's already going to be lacking in damage. Now, I personally really like her playstyle. I think she is super fun to play, and she's still totally viable. I even know people who main her, but unfortunately, I also think that her character design is pretty bland. But now that Kuro is releasing skins, and now after we've seen how amazing Sanwa's skin looks, which we get for free, by the way, I do maintain some hope that they'll give Taoqi a big glow up sometime in the future.
I would say that Taoqi, especially if you're using Verena as the support, is pretty good. Because what you can just do is, when your main DPS, like let's just say a Carlotta, goes and finishes her rotation, you intro out to Taoqi, you use her 3 forte attacks, then you go back onto Verena, right? Get Verena's rotation, then go back onto Taoqi and use her 3 forte attacks again. Her rotation is decently fast at that point. And when you throw in things like an R5 Discord, oh boy, she's pretty quick. Let's be real here. It's only the first rotation in her teams that's like a little bit slow. But hey, just dodge on her. Just hit a dodge on her and you'll be okay.
Number 2 on my list is Yuanwu.
Okay,
Yuanwu
this guy's
is
just
another
ass.
defense scaling character, but the reason that he usually doesn't get as much hate for that as Taoqi does is because his field time is much less, and if you're seriously using him, typically you're just using him as a sub DPS for your Jin Shi team if you don't have Chixia. And for that, he is perfectly fine.
True.
He is a super good free-to-play option for a Jin Shi team.
I don't think he's that good. I think the fact that he lacks any sort of amplifying ability on his outro skill makes him pretty dog shit. I'm gonna be honest. Your Jin Shi's damage suffers tremendously simply from having him on the team. And you do feel like you're lacking a lot of like the amp that you would traditionally get from other characters.
Because of his coordinated attacks. But if you're trying to main him, he's just not going to be as strong because of that split scaling. But that is not the reason why he has the number 2 spot on this list. I've got to keep it real with you guys. He gets the number 2 spot on this list because I cannot stand looking at his stupid ass character design. And I'm tired of him popping up on every single banner I feel like I've ever pulled on, wearing his stupid little fedora and inviting me to go to his gym. Feel free to come by my gym. Shut the f up. And here it is. My number 1 pick for the absolutely worst character.
Oh, we all know who it
Waves.
is, ladies and gentlemen.
You guys already know who it is, don't you? I mean, really? How could you not? It's Lingyang, obviously.
He sucks.
This character
He's
is
so
literally
bad.
the worst, and I don't feel bad for saying it at all. Why do I not like him? Why is he the worst? Here's a few reasons. Reason 1, I'm not a furry. Reason 2, he's not a super great DPS as far as main DPS characters are concerned. especially now that we have Carlotta, who outclasses him as a Glacio DPS by a lot. Now, this isn't a huge deal because he's a standard banner character anyway, and that was bound to happen. And if you like him, you can totally still make him work as a main DPS. But my question to you is, why would you like him? Because reason 3, he has the worst character design in the game, and it's not even close. He's a femboy. He is a wolf femboy. To those of you out there who like femboys, I apologize. But this one is a combination of a femboy and a furry, and I am totally not here for it. The skinny little arms, the wimpy sounding voice, and if you're looking at him from behind, his outfit has an open back. It's like, at that point, why not just wear a dress?
Bro's pulling absolutely no punches. Holy shit. I didn't even think about it from this perspective. I actually didn't think about it from this perspective. He's just straight up shitting on the fucking character, like, completely. He's shitting on it in every single way possible. I didn't even think about these ways of hating.
Reason 4. I lost my 50-50 to him on both the Yinlin and the Changli banner. So here is my Lingyang. He is S1, and he is still level 1, and he is probably always going to be level 1. For me, he's like Chixia from Genshin Impact, always there to ruin your day and make you spend tons more money than you originally wanted to on characters that you actually want. Okay, I'm done. Like I said, this list is extremely subjective, and it was very partial to my personal feelings about the characters. So again, let me be clear, for all the characters on this list, you can still use them and get the game content done just fine. To the 3 Lingyang mains that are out there, I wish I could say I was sorry. But anyway, let me know who you think is the worst character in Wuthering Waves. And if you enjoyed this video, do me a favor and hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.
All right, so I would say that this was a pretty comprehensive list. However, I would implore Solus, right? If he's gonna mention things like Carlotta taking over Glacio, Carlotta feeling a lot better than Lingyang. I mean, let's be honest here, man. I don't think Taoqi is really that bad anymore. I do think Taoqi is actually pretty good now. You just gotta use Taoqi with your Carlotta. And I'm gonna be honest, you get 125 ER on Carlotta, you're having a pretty good time in that team. You're having a pretty good time in that team, I'm gonna be honest. And I think we proved from some of the gameplay the other day, it actually works out pretty well. But everyone else, Yuanwu, I think he's dog shit. Chixia, I think she feels like shit to play. And Calcharo, he probably takes the cake for feeling bad to play. Overall, pretty solid list in my opinion. However, I do think that maybe we could sub this out for somebody else. But a nice, fun little video. I would go ahead and suggest you guys like and subscribe to this guy so we can make even more engaging content. If anything, I'd like to see Taoqi replaced with Chang Li. Maybe we could do a little bit of that. And then I'd agree with this list even more. Let me know what you all think. Peace out.